Hi, welcome back. My name is John Sands and we're continuing with Chapter 3 of the CCNA Security course. This section we're going to talk about the installation and use of the SDM to perform some of the basic tasks that we've covered in this chapter. All right, so we're going to talk about the SDM first. For you that haven't used the SDM, it's a graphical interface to our routers. So it's a Java-based device management tool that enables us to configure many of the aspects to our routers. So we can configure the LAN, WAN, and security features on a router. The SDM lets us also view the configuration. So it's a good teaching tool in the classroom where we can have students use the SDM to set some basic configurations, and then they can go back and review the actual command line commands that were sent to the actual router from the SDM. It's a browser-based tool, so you basically run it through your browser after it's installed on the router. Okay, so SDMs, we can use it to configure our interfaces, our WAN connectivity. We can set up the firewall and ACS configurations. It enables us to set VPNs up much easier, and you can do several other types of router tasks. Just a little bit about what you need to run SDM. You need to, in some cases, upgrade the memory in your routers. It requires 6 megabits of free memory to run on the router side. Now, they do have a version called SDM Express, which only requires 2 meg of additional memory on your router. And then finally, your PC's got to be able to handle 5.5 meg, not much on today's systems. All right, you can check if SDM is installed on your system by going to the router and typing in show flash : and you should see the files listed here. All right, so the SDM SHTML file and so on. If you see this file, you pretty much can believe that SDM is installed, and if you want to delete it, you'd basically remove these files. Okay? All right, to configure your router using SDM, you need to go through some basic configuration options on your router itself. So as an example, you need to turn on the IP HTTP server. And if you want to do that through a secure connection, you're going to want to also enable IP HTTP secure server if you want an encrypted secure connection to your routers when using SDM. Most of the time we're going to want to do local authentication, so we're going to create a local username and password on the router itself, and we'll use that when we authenticate with SDM. So we're going to want the command IP HTTP authentication local. We're probably going to want some timeout, so if we have idle time on the line. All right, and then we're going to have to create a username and password that have a privilege level of 15. Okay, so in this case, we're going to do a user name SDM, privilege level 15, secret, and then the password Cisco. All right, and then we're going to apply that to the Ethernet lines or the VTY lines that we're going to access the router from our SDM workstation. So in this case, we're going to go to line VTY04, privilege level 15, local login, or we can do login authentication, and in this case we would use maybe default, where we would define that particular user and the method we're going to use. And then of course you're going to want to allow transport of SSH, so transport input, Telnet or SSH. In this case I have Telnet and SSH, so we can use either. That's basically what's involved. Now to install it, we needed to install each of them commands on our router itself. Okay. And I'll just do a show run here to show you what we've done. So we've actually gone in and turned on the AAA model. We've set up a default using local. Okay, we're actually using SSH, so we have a certificate created. We created the username SDM with a password of Cisco that was encrypted, and we turned on the HTTP server and the HTTP secure server. So basically, we've already pasted the configurations into this router. Okay, From there, to actually do the installation, there's a setup tool. So the setup tool basically looks like this. In this case, we have SDM already on our workstation, so we don't need to install it on the workstation, but we can do computer, the router, or both. For your initial installation, you probably would want to do both. Okay, so you just click both, next, yes, you have to put in the router you want to install it on. So in this case, it's 10.44.100.52, the username, all right, it's going to go ahead and connect it, and then it's going to ask us what options we want. Okay, but that's basically what's involved in installing it. SDM, I actually used the wrong password. All right. But that's basically what's installed. It's a wizard that will go ahead and install it on the router itself. It will also give you the option of installing the Express version if you have a router that doesn't have enough memory to install the full version. Okay. When it comes up, basically what we're going to do in this section is walk through the creation of users and then show you how to apply them authentications to a particular line. All right, so it gives us the option of a custom install or typical. We'll just use typical. Here's where you could turn on the SDM Express. Okay. At this point, you just hit install, and it's going to connect to our router from our workstation and actually install the SDM at our router. Okay. All right, there's two ways now to launch SDM. One is we can actually go up and run the SDM launcher. They give you a little tool with SDM, or we can just basically go to our browser and hit the address of the router that's running SDM. So again, in this case, it was 10.44.100.52. Okay, it'll come up, ask us for our credentials. Ask us if we want to use HTTP or HTTPS. Now you may be prompted again for your credentials during the login process. All right, in this case, it brought us up. And that's basically what's involved in installing the SDM client.